Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. It is Monday, November 21st, 2022. The year is gone. This morning, the residents of America's four largest cities have spoken, and their votes have favored Black mayors. New York, Chicago, Houston, and Los Angeles will each have a Black mayor after Representative Karen Bass is sworn in next month as Los Angeles' 43rd mayor, the first woman and second African American elected to the role. She'll be sworn in on December 2nd. Also, this morning, a new survey seems to suggest that Black Friday, the so called busiest shopping day of the year, which occurs this Friday, has lost its luster. Well, has it? And how old is too old to be president of the United States? Well, Joe Biden yesterday turned 80, making him the oldest president in U.S. history. And he said he intends to run again, which means if he wins and completes a second term, he'll be 86 years old. And finally, Donald Trump is back on Twitter. We discussed all that this morning. Barrington Salmon, of course, and Austin Cooper. We appreciate both of you for joining us. How y'all doing?
Doing okay. Good to see
Morning.
you both.
Doing great, man. Glad to
Well,
be here.
it's always good to have both of you. Eric Adams was voted mayor of New York in November 2021. Lori Lightfoot in Chicago in 2019. Sylvester Turner in Houston. He's held that role since 2016. And now Karen Bass has joined him. What does this mean, guys? That major cities, major cities in this country now have Black mayors.
Well, we are continuing. Good morning to your listeners. I think it's a great sign for not only Black Americans, but all Americans that we have four Black capable men and women leading four of the largest cities in the United States. I'm especially pleased that that Congresswoman Karen Bass won. I've known her for a number of years. She is currently the chair of the House Subcommittee on Africa. So I was very disappointed when the Congresswoman announced earlier or last year that she was leaving Congress and running for mayor. Honestly, I didn't think that she would win. So I am pleasantly surprised that she beat someone who spent $100 million of his own money to try and win the race, yet he lost.
Rick Caruso.
Yeah.
Yeah, developer. He spent $100 million of his own money to Austin and Barrington, but he's also a very popular guy in Los Angeles, Southern California as a whole. He's a popular guy there. His name is on. He's like the Trump of Los Angeles. His name is on so many different buildings and developments, and it was an uphill battle. It took a week or so after the election before it was called in Karen Bass's favor. But nonetheless, the point here, Barrington, four mayors in America's four largest cities.
Yeah, it's an accomplishment. I agree with Austin. It is a cause for us to puff our chest out to be proud. But I wonder, it always seems to me that whenever we are put in charge of a sports team or we're put in charge of certain things that it often comes with the lack of resources and other things that we need to be successful. And I just, as much as I love that this is happening, because it's important, particularly in this political environment where they try to make us make it seem as if we're stupid, that we're incapable of running anything, of doing anything of consequence. When I look at the reality of this system, this economic system, this political system, homelessness in Los Angeles is like out of control.
That's
right?
Karen Bass's big challenge.
And I interviewed a friend of mine who is the executive director for a homeless organization in LA. And she was saying that they threw all this money at politicians and city leaders during COVID, and then they pulled all of the money. And the situation is worse now than it was before COVID. So I admire anybody like a Representative Bass who feels like they have that they're courageous enough to me that they're going to try to fight it. So I wish them all well, because the issues that we're all facing are thorny and sometimes intractable.
In
Well,
fact,
and she's also facing Austin. Karen Bass is also facing homelessness is the huge LA problem, right? I mean, it's a problem throughout the nation, but LA is really huge. But she's also facing a city council that is wrestling with some racism, overt racism there. So she's got a lot on her plate when she goes into the mayor's mansion on the 12th of next month.
Yeah, you're referencing, I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, perhaps slightly longer, when 2 or 3 council members were caught on tape referring to a Black council member's child by a monkey or something. No, the Congresswoman has her hands full, as do each of these mayors. My dad used to always say, the only time white folk put us in charge of something is when it's so screwed up they just want to walk away from it. And then once we correct it, then all of a sudden they want to claim it. I used to, Dave Dinkins, the first Black mayor of New York City. I was one of his lobbyists. And I remember, true, crime was bad. Crime was bad under Mayor Koch. The crime number did not increase once Dave Dinkins became mayor. They were bad for the 12 years of the Koch era. And when Dave Dinkins came on board, he started a program called Safe Cities, Safe Streets, Safe Cities, in which the legislature, New York State legislature, passed in a bipartisan manner under his leadership, funding, money to increase cops, remove them from the desk, and to get them on the streets. And I lobbied with my colleagues for the bill's passage. I was there at signing ceremonies when the revitalization of Times Square came about, when Disney, when some of the other big stores decided. The problem was they signed during the Dinkins administration, but once you signed the MOU, it was a year or two before they actually came into and began building their sites. So guess what?
Giuliani got the credit.
Giuliani came in.
Yeah.
Mayor Dinkins lost by he lost by a close margin, and Giuliani got all the credit. But the credit really should have gone to Dave to Mayor Dinkins.
Yeah, Ed Koch was always asking the New York Post, "How am I doing?
How am I doing?
How am I doing?" It's horrible. And we mentioned Karen Bass and Lori Lightfoot. A record 145 Black women filed or pledged to run for Congress during the midterms, and it was up from 130 in the 2020 election. So you got the mayors, but Black women are really getting involved in this process.
Yeah, but as Austin noted, there's always they give you the stuff to fix and then they want it back. But there's also the reality that whenever we start seeing too many Stacys and Austins in places of prominence and potential power, then the backlash begins. And so we're still dealing with the backlash from Barack Obama becoming.
And the shame, Barrington, shame of it is that it also comes from within too, right?
Of course. I mean, Harriet Tubman would have no problem putting down a whole bunch of us who running around trying to be pseudo white people and embracing all this foolishness and this neoliberal, neoconservative crap that they're throwing around, that pretending that it's politics. She would have no problem. So yes, it's not just white folks. There's a lot of delusional Black people who are trying hard to hew close to the orthodoxy, the racial orthodoxy of this country. So yeah.
Well, I think it's great that we have so many women and men of color who are running for office, particularly in these times. And it's one thing to run for office, 20, 30 years ago, but to run for office now in this environment, in this political climate, says a lot. So kudos to those men and women of color who, despite it all, see fit to public office.
Well, David Youngblood writes that with gerrymandered districts, your likelihood of success is fleeting. So I guess that's exactly what you guys are talking about as well. Moving on, according to a survey conducted last month, nearly 70% of consumers plan to skip Black Friday and holiday shopping altogether this year, while some believe retailers manipulated shoppers. A relatively large amount said they won't shop because of large crowds. But a growing number of shoppers said Black Friday has simply lost its luster. Are you shopping, Barrington?
Bruh, I don't think that I've ever, in the time that I've been in this country, been awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning to go shopping. First of all, I hate shopping. Most of the time I'll walk around or sit in the car while my wife or family go to shop. I am glad that it's losing its luster. I hope the whole thing falls apart, because all it is them exploiting people that don't have the money anyway. And I think there's a saying that said that people buy things to impress people that don't even like them. And the whole economic system is just so rigged. I remember I worked in retail when I came to this country, and I always knew what things were going to be on sale because they'd add $2 or $3 to the items and then put them on sale the next week and tell you $1 off. So you're getting ripped off anyway, and often buying a bunch of stuff you don't need. So yeah,
exactly.
Well, every year it seems like the big item is always the big screen TV. Who needs a TV anymore?
Exactly.
I do. I need to buy a TV now, but I'm not doing it on Black Friday.
Yeah, no, I'm especially glad that more and more stores are allowing their employees to be home with their families on Thanksgiving, and to open their stores on even if it's early Friday morning. I think Thanksgiving is family time, and you should not be called into work for the profit of the owners of these large franchises. As for me, sometimes I like going to the store, to the mall on Friday and walking around, just kind of getting into the Christmas spirit. But honestly, most of my shopping, like you, perhaps Barrington, and you, Stacy, I do online.
I like to just people watch. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people entertain me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see just about everything at the
on a
mall.
bench and just sit and watch people, rushing with their, they're doing their beginning their Christmas shopping.
Yeah, and then if you really want entertainment, just go to any Walmart.
I know.
Oh yeah,
it's wild, man.
Guaranteed. They call it Wally World.
Yeah,
Wally World. Oh, I didn't even know that.
Listen, so President Biden just celebrated his 80th birthday yesterday, marking the first time a sitting president has reached that milestone while in office. And also has fueled some more speculation about how his advance in age will affect his political future. Biden, who was the oldest person to assume the presidency, he will be 86 if he happens to run and win again and serve a full second term. Is it just time just to say, how old is too old to serve in such a position? I mean, it's not to say, and I'm not in any way suggesting if somebody wants to work, they can work. But I don't want my grandfather working at 82 years old. I didn't want him working at 82 years old. I don't want my mother working at 82 years old. I don't want, at some point, this is supposedly the most stressful job in the world.
Absolutely. And I remember an interview that Jimmy Carter gave a couple of probably during the last campaign, one of his last interviews, and they asked him, and I remember him very directly saying, respectfully, but saying that I don't know how anybody that age, and this is almost 4 years ago now, this interview, can carry on the responsibilities of the presidency. If my memory serves me correctly, President Carter was 56.
Yeah,
and he ran for president, which obviously made him 61 when he left office, and he was referring to the gruels of the campaign.
Mhm.
Much less the the awesome responsibilities of the president. The only president in modern history that I can recall who did not age, to me, was Donald Trump, who didn't do any damn thing.
Yeah, yeah, of
I
course,
mean,
of
if
course.
you look at before,
Yeah,
January 20th inauguration day, and the next January 20th inauguration day, and
look,
look at headshots, you will see the difference in aging. We saw with Barack Obama,
yeah,
black hair, and he was like our grandfather with the white hair when he left office. Granted, 8 years later,
yeah.
but yeah, it's I wish there was someone else younger on the horizon, because I am concerned about the president's age and ability to carry on the responsibilities.
Yeah,
We,
Nancy Pelosi says she's stepping away from leadership in order to make way for a younger generation. We keep hearing it's time for the younger generation. Hakeem Jeffries is going to lead the Democrats in the House, um, but 80, it's not in any way a shade on his any accomplishments that some may believe that Biden has accomplished, but 80 years old, and he still has 2 years left in this term, and he's talking about a second 4-year term. Barrington, how much is too much?
well, I interviewed Representative Bobby Scott last week, and he was saying that as long as folks can do the job, and I agree, as long as you can do the job, but we this country is a gerontocracy. Um, Pelosi's 82, Maxine Waters is 82, Hoyer is 80, Clyburn is 80 or 81. And I am glad that they decided to step aside to let Jeffries and Aguilar and Clark get an opportunity to step in. It makes me wonder if they had held the House, if they would have done the same thing. They probably wouldn't have. They probably would have just
Yeah,
stayed,
I thought of that too. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Barrington.
you
yeah,
know.
I don't.
So I'm glad that um, that the universe shifted some things. We now we have to suffer with the bullshit of these idiots in the House, the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the
Yep.
Jim Jordans and the Matt Gates. All of the fools are running the asylum, but we it's a good thing because it's funny because one of the things that a lot of young people have been talking about when I interview them or when you read these stories is that they're like all these old people who don't understand what we're dealing with, don't appreciate the values and the things that we support.
Right.
I mean, they're the one, you have folks who keep on saying, oh, we don't want this XYZ program because it's socialist. Young people want it.
Hmm.
Medicare for all, a $15 an hour living wage. Those are things that the what used to be the Republican Party has painted as socialist, when all they really are a means to help ordinary people sustain or get a leg up.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope more of these old people step aside. And I mean, it's interesting because even in the civil rights, you have the young leaders of young activists who have been pushing against the Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and saying you all need to step aside. Because I went to cover some stories and overheard the arguments between young people and Reverend Sharpton, and saying, when are you all going to move out the way so that we can assume some control and responsibility? So it's something that is an issue, and it's common in different facets of our country.
And I'm glad that Speaker Pelosi is going to remain in Congress. I was fully expecting her to perhaps announce her retirement, particularly after what the brutal assault on her husband
Yeah.
a little more than a month ago. So I'm glad that she will be there for Hakeem and the other younger members of the leadership of council for guidance. But I think she also had to be careful not to be a backhand quarterback. To give them counsel, but to also give them space. You are the new leaders, and I'm not going to be second guessing or questioning you every step of the way. And I'm also glad that it appears that Congressman Clyburn, who will no longer be the House Majority Whip, but they're going to create some sort of a title where he will remain in the leadership to offer his counsel and expertise to our new leaders of the Democratic caucus.
Yeah, David. Let me just tell you what David Youngblood says. He says he's okay with Biden running again if his mental and physical condition is good. He says, I'm not bothered by his stuttering, but he comes off as a doting old man. Do fewer. He said Biden should do fewer public appearances, but when he does, he has to be forceful and direct.
Well, but Biden seems to have done well because everybody wrote him off and wrote out the party in the midterms, and the red wave became a red sprinkle. So they did
bloating and cramping.
Yeah, so he did some things right. I mean, hey.
Well,
yeah, and I remember looking at President Biden's schedule the day before the election, and he started at the White House, and the only public event he had that day was coming up to my neck of the woods here in Maryland for an event with Westmoreland. Westmore. And I remember saying, this is 24 hours before the election. How come you're not in the battleground state? Why are you in a safe area? And I was complaining to one of my political buddies, and to in reference to brother Youngblood, he said the White House had to try to keep him, close.
Yeah.
Well, President Biden has sort of left the door ajar for him to not run again. In fact, yesterday, this is exactly what he said. He said, my intention is that I will run again, but I'm a great respecter of fate, and that is ultimately a family decision. I think everybody wants me to run, but we're going to have discussions about it, and I don't feel any hurry one way or the other to make that judgment. So he's kind of saying, I'm going to talk it over with my family. If they feel I'm too old, then you know what? Vice President Harris is all yours. You can top the ticket.
But here's the deal. There has been so much negative press around Vice President Harris, and I spoke to a political operative the other day who was saying that she hasn't gotten the type of portfolios that would give her the type of vision, the type of prominence that would give people confidence that she would do well as president. So I think that, there's some issues around that they should be trying to strengthen if Biden decides not to run.
Well, there's been some controversy too, that the White House has really done a good job putting out the fires on that particular issue. I know last year and early this year, we heard the rumblings that the Harris camp was saying that the president's people were kind of blocking her from doing certain things and blocking the work that she's done, as far as not allowing it to get the attention that it might have otherwise gotten. So there's been some underlying issues there, and perhaps some signals got crossed, or perhaps maybe there's a faction that feels what you just said, Barrington, that perhaps she's just not yet ready. Remember, we talked about Karen Bass. She was also a finalist for the vice president's position as well.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, listen, we've seen Kamala Harris in action, when she was in the Senate. We've seen her when she was in California as a prosecutor. And so it's not that she doesn't have experience, right?
Yeah, but the fact is that she's a Black woman
in
a political time, and where, I mean, if you look at Val Demings versus that fool that's in the Senate in Florida, and Val Demings lost, that clown should have been run out of office.
Exactly.
So which is he, a fool or a clown?
Both.
Can you be both?
You can't be both. But Florida usually doesn't elect women statewide, much less a Black woman. Plus, people can say what they want. They allowed DeSantis to redraw district lines, get rid of two black Congress people and make it fully Republican. It's so interesting because I was covering Andrew Gillum when he ran against DeSantis in 2018, and I will go to my grave convinced that they stole that election.
Exactly.
Well, that's another. Absolutely, you're right. And speaking of,
they stole it.
Yeah,
they stole it, and I said I don't care. Just like in the same way that Brian Kemp stole the election in 2018, because when he was Secretary of State, he erased about 1.3 million primarily black votes off the voter rolls, and nobody said anything. It was okay. They allowed theft. They allowed theft in this country. The Supreme Court refused to rule on racial gerrymandering. So
yeah,
I mean, it's garbage.
yes. Listen, speaking of Gilliam, Donald Trump on his Truth Social referred to Gilliam as a quote crackhead, and
Really?
now all that venom is coming back to Twitter.
Oh yeah.
He's back. Should he be back? There was a poll Elon Musk took, and there it is.
You
It was a
believe
very
that?
close vote.
You believe that?
15 million votes.
You believe that poll?
Believe it. I don't believe it.
It's
And
Elon Musk's numbers.
He just made up some numbers, bruh.
Yeah, and the deciding factor in, if I may backtrack briefly, Stacey, in President Biden deciding to run in 2020 was the fact that Donald Trump was on the ticket, and Donald Trump is back on the ticket, and I think that will also play a major role in President Biden's decision on whether to seek re-election. Had Trump not been in a position to run again, I think I'm not necessarily sure that President Biden would even be seriously considering another run.
Well, more and more people are leaving Twitter. Everyone expected it to shut down. For some reason, the other day there was all of these. Everyone was tweeting that this was it. What happened? Anybody really know what happened there? I mean, it's still going right now, but it's a lot of bots, a lot more bots, a lot more of this craziness with the blue checks. David Youngblood said he's off Twitter, but it just can't survive this way, can it?
It might. It might. I mean, it's a huge concern, It's not a small thing in the business office of Barrington's house. It's a huge concern. Spread wide, lots of tentacles. Used to have a lot of employees. I am giggly looking at, because one of the things as a journalist, sometimes I just bang my head against the wall, because they have these myths that they throw out there. Just because some white boy has some money, he's a genius. I just told someone on Facebook, Elon Musk is not a space engineer. He don't know how to build no cars. He just bought a company. He doesn't know anything about Twitter. He just bought a company. And he's so arrogant that he thinks that he can run Twitter with him and two other people. But I love, if as divisive and crazy as he's been, and presenting such a threat to people who are trying to make a livelihood, I'm glad that people are telling him that that they're voting with their feet. And I mean, I just got reminded that his degrees are fake. He claims that he has science degrees and they're honorary. And if journalists were responsible, they'd be telling people that these degrees are honorary, that he's fake. But they buy into the lie, I guess, because they want to keep on having access or something.
So is Trump? Is he back to tweeting on Twitter? The last I heard a couple of days ago was he said he was not going to be on. But that will change. That will change.
It's going to
change. If it hasn't changed already, that will change.
Because Kanye West said that he was going on a 6-month verbal fast, and he's already back on Twitter.
Well, Kanye West was seen the other day wearing his Balenciaga gear and his Adidas gear.
Really?
Kanye West has flipped his lid totally.
He's still flipping his lid.
I think he had a mental breakup sometime. And one of his trainers said that he's had a mental health break. So that's possible.
Mental health breakdown.
Breakdown. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know
But
what?
they always find, Barrington is an asshole, and then they say, "Oh my God, he must have had a mental health break." They don't ever want to call a thing a thing,
Well,
because every time that they talk about Trump, they keep on saying, "Well, maybe he didn't know what he was doing." Why?
He knew.
Why? Why? Why make excuses?
mm,
So,
mm, mm.
so the what passes for journalism in this country leaves a lot to be desired.
Listen, uh, when they raided Mar-a-Lago, Dave Chappelle said it best, right? He said, "I have taken a lot of things from my jobs." He said, "The one thing I haven't taken from work is work."
Work.
Work. But the irony is that Trump never did no work.
Nope.
Instead, he never did a day of work, but he's going to steal 11,000 documents, claiming that he's going to take it home to do work.
Yeah, he's selling them. He's selling them. He's Xeroxing those and selling them.
Well, does Trump deserve some credit for being able to look? 75 million people voted for him in the last election, right? And to still have so many people hostage, to have the Republican Party hostage.
By choice. But that's by choice. Nobody's forcing them to support him.
Well, I'm saying, does he deserve some credit there?
Credit? No, I think that he's a master manipulator who has read the room. Right. He understands the fear that white people have of the browning of America. Yep. He understands the fear that they have of losing power, prestige, and perks.
Yeah, he's the Reverend Jim Jones of American politics.
Yeah, he is. Thank you, Austin. That is beautiful.
But he'll give them the Kool-Aid. He's not drinking it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, he'll never drink it.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be the only one left.
He will not drink it.
I mean, think about the fact that he had $150 million prior to the midterms. And all these idiots were like, "Oh, well, he's going to help the candidates to win." He ain't spent a penny of that money. And watch the red wave become a red puddle.
Yep. And Steve Bannon's foundation, organization, whatever, that was collecting money from these poor white folk who were giving their last dollars to Trump, to build the wall. There was no extension of the wall. Steve Bannon and Trump pocketed.
They stole $25 million.
For folks' hard-earned money.
Yeah.
And people still go for that.
They still.
I don't have any pity for them.
Yeah.
Because they should have a modicum of common sense. They should. My dad always said common sense is not that common. And they show it every day. But I don't feel sorry for them because he has shown the type of creep and creature and con man and grifter that he is, and they still love him.
Well, for one of his defense funds, not this summer, but last summer, I remember seeing interviews by some older white Americans who, signed up, checked the box. I want to make a one-time contribution of $500.
Yeah.
One-time contribution. Yeah. And these folks, several months later, $500 was coming out of their account once a month, and they couldn't reach anybody. Stop it. Yeah. And you go to the bank with it. I mean, that's a process to go to the bank and to get it stopped. That can't be done automatically. But one person who signed up to give $500, like $10,000 later, he's still trying to get them to stop taking money out of his account.
They said that when he came into office, they said that 2,500 small businesses have filed lawsuits against him because they did work in his hotels and he refused to pay them. Why would you work for him? Why would you work for him? Why would you do anything for him?
Mm-hmm. Well, Elon Musk has activated an archive of Trump tweets when he was president. He just didn't reactivate those that incited the Capitol riot, though, which is interesting. If you're gonna put them out there, put them all out there, right?
Put them all out there.
No, but you understand that that these people are liars and do anything they can to try to whitewash what they're doing. So, it's so interesting because one of the things that Musk did was make statements saying that his Twitter followers and other Americans should vote for Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So that's why when I see him going through, when he's going down the toilet drain, I am elated. I'm elated.
Hey, and a note on Twitter. One of the folks who walked away or was fired, however you want to put it, one of the engineers cautioned people: if you want your archives deleted, or you want your DMs deleted, that you have to delete it, and whoever you would DM and have to delete their DMs as well. Just a little side note there. It just rang a bell when we saw the archive there of Trump's. So be careful what you're tweeting. Be careful what you say. Barrington talking about burn it down. See, the thing with Barrington is that whatever he says in the DM, he's going to say out loud anyway.
Goddamn right.
He's unstoppable.
But it's funny because people are like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm just saying what I think needs
Just
to
the
be said.
facts. Just the facts.
No, it's not facts. It's just I would not make the mistake of saying that the stuff that I say is like written in stone, like Moses brought it down off the mountain. It's just my thoughts. But a friend of mine was like, you say things out loud that we're thinking, but we ain't gonna say, which I don't agree with. But I just say what
Why exist?
yeah. So it's going to be interesting to watch the further implosion. And because what amuses me is that we're watching the implosion of Twitter and the what used to be Republican Party. Because
Well,
I don't consider the Republican Party to be a party anymore. There's no policy prescription, no platform, no interest in governing. All it is a bunch of aggrieved white
Trump
people
Trump.
who are trying the best they can to hold power.
yeah,
That's
it's all about power now. It's
power.
strictly about power.
Yeah.
There's no masking that anymore, right?
No. So
Well, hey, there you have it.
buckle up.
Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Well, thank y'all again. Always appreciate Austin Cooper, Our House DC, and the Washington Informer. Barrington Salmon, who is writing everywhere you look. Barrington's got something out there.
Gotta eat, bruh.
Gotta eat. I hear you. We don't want to go hungry. So anyway,
Yeah.
Austin, you have been instructed not to go anywhere. So sit tight as we say good day to our viewers this morning. Thanks for watching. Let it be known. We'll see you tomorrow.